Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Qaswa podcast. You are now in week 5 of term 2 2023. Alhamdulillah, we had a very beautiful weekend. The Sunday, I think, was really great, the day after the madrasa.
Yeah, we went kayaking with the Qaswa family at Canning Eco Education Centre, and it was a truly magnificent day. The weather was beautiful.
Yeah, the morning started a bit chilly. It was a bit cold, but I think by the time we got to 10 o'clock, it was just beautiful. And I think it was really nice because we had some parents who came to me and said that they've been trying to convince the children to kayak, to get into the water, but they've not been successful. But I think because they've got their friends around and everybody just went in confidently, alhamdulillah, it was really great. I think I'd like to also just thank the City of Canning and Millennium Kids for organising the climate change leadership program. 25 of our children went to that program, and part of the program is kayaking. And so we thought that why just restrict kayak to the 25 students? So we rented our own kayaks to for the rest of the Qaswa family to go on it.
So it was nice. I think almost everyone had a go. In the kayak, and the water was beautiful. The water was really beautiful. The scenery was really nice. It was something we would probably do.
Yeah, we'll probably do it
more
again
often,
in the future. So probably we'll have more kayak specific days rather than just a picnic. Everybody will be on a kayak, and we'll probably just kayak from Canning Eco River, that side, and then we'll go through all the way probably closer to either Shelley Bridge or Applecross, those area, and probably have a picnic on the other side. So everyone bring something in a waterproof bag, or we could just have coffee and dates.
Cater to the event. Make it easier, probably. And I think that's part of what we really want to do at Qaswa. We want to have family outings amongst the Qaswa family. So it is not just a madrasa. It is a community, and everyone's welcome to come and enjoy each other's company, and we get to know each other better. It was nice to see the teachers being able to, talk to some parents, because on madrasa day is often very hectic, and it's quite a rushing time. So, it was really nice to get to know some parents more closely, and vice versa.
And I think in a lot of ways that the migrant community, the Muslim being comprised of mainly migrant, first generation migrants, we tend to actually group together with our own people. So the Malays will go outing with the Malays, the Pakistanis with the Pakistanis, the Indonesian, and so on. One of the things that we try to do at Qaswa is that we want to try and break that. We want to try the racial barrier. We want to get everyone involved. That the thing that unites is Islam, not so much where we came from, and that is something that our children experience, because the fact is our children are more connected to Australia than our country of origin. For our children, for instance, our 3 daughters, Malaysia is a holiday destination rather than back home. We may use the phrase "we're going back home," but to them, home
is Australia.
It's Australia.
And that's the thing, right? The children are Australian, and we want them to enjoy the country that they are on, and we want them to feel that they are Australians. Not lose their cultural and ethnic and religious backgrounds and identities, but also be able to consider themselves Australians.
And one of the beauties of Islam is that Islam doesn't come to a culture or a civilization and erase the entire civilizational history of that culture. It builds on top. It tells you what's halal and haram, guides you, but eliminate what's haram, what's bad for you, but allow the good of the society or in that culture to flourish. And what we think as Islamic culture today, in many ways, were actually adopted from other cultures. In fact, the way we read Quran, the melody of reading Quran, you look at Bayati, Ros, Nahawan, Saba. These are all Persian melody that existed before Islam. And then when Islam came, Islam just adopted that into modes of reciting Quran. It wasn't Arab. So that is something that I think we hope to see in Australia, where the future generation of Muslims would build an Australian identity, Islamic Australian identity. What we can do at this stage is just facilitate the getting together and understanding the different cultures, because of course when we get together there will be cultural differences. We are Muslims, but someone from Pakistan have different cultural practices, and that affect their understanding of Islam to how we do it as Malaysians. Even Indonesian, our closest neighbor, would have some differences. Yeah, so getting together allows us to see, like, all right, this is cultural, and this is not a religious requirement. If it doesn't suit what the society in Australia, then maybe we could shed those culture and build a new culture based on the principles of Islam. And I think another interesting thing that happens when we do outings like this is that our children get to see Islam being practiced beyond the walls of a madrasa and a masjid. That we have fun, but still there is respect between male and female. It's not like there is a wall between us, but there is that respect in terms of our interaction. And when it comes to time to pray, everybody just, let's go and pray.
And I think that also builds confidence in our children, who may not be so confident to pray in public, or to pray at the park or to pray at school, that when they see this being modeled by a group and everything is fine, and they're like the non-Muslims are watching us, but nobody did say anything. So I think that builds confidence, that it's okay to be different, and it's okay for us to do our religious practices in the open, as long as we are not bothering anyone. I think that's quite a good impression, I think, for the children, a good modeling.
And also then they realize that praying is not that hard. You need to take wudu. There's ample water fountain that you can use. Or we were by the river. Some of the boys were asking me, where should I do wudu? You are from the river. You're already wet. So just
can dunk yourself in.
Do your wudu in the river. Come and join us and pray. But I am not clean, but you're pure. It's not najis. The water from the river is not najis. Just pray. Pray on the ground. No problem. We make practicing Islam, we simplify the practice of Islam. Make it. We try and simplify to the point that it is, you don't have an excuse not to pray. And
it was really nice that families brought all sorts of different foods, and some parents for the very first time was tasting gulab jamun, like an Indian mithai, and another family for the first time was tasting like fried Malaysian style noodles. So it was really nice to have that sharing as well.
Alhamdulillah, that's good. All right, so we look forward to more families joining us in our next activities. Inshallah, we will have some, not everything will involve water, but we'll also have some orienteering, map reading, and running around in the bush. That's also something that I think our children will greatly enjoy. All right, shall we get into the topic of the week?
Yes.
We were talking about Mahmudah and Madhmumah. We introduced some new terms to our students to guide them into the process or the steps of purifying their hearts.
I think we better start with what it means first.
Mahmudah, but how did you do it with your children? How do you explain Mahmudah and Madhmumah to your children?
So basically, with very young children, just explaining it in the simplest way possible. So Mahmudah are good traits, traits that are good for you, traits that shines your heart, brings you to Jannah. With young children, there's always that concept of shining your heart, because that's just so easy for them and so visual for them. And then Madhmumah is things that, traits that brings you further away, traits that causes black spots onto your heart, that it darkens your heart. And these are things that are not good for you to do. So that was how we explained it. Yeah. And how about the older children? How do you define?
With the older children, we say Madhmumah and Mahmudah. Madhmumah are things that similar that you need to purify your heart from, because we're continuing from last week's takhalli, tahalli, and tajalli. So takhalli, we said it was about scrubbing our hearts from negative traits. These negative traits are called Madhmumah. But as usual, we're not fussed about children remembering the Arabic terms. It's something that we want them to be familiar, so that when they get into high school and we get a bit more serious into learning, it's not alien to them. They've heard those terms. They may not remember, but they know.
There's a familiarity.
But the idea is takhalli is to rid your hearts of our hearts of Madhmumah. And we gave example of these bad habits, bad traits of the heart, blameworthy, like anger, jealousy. So it's things that are not yet out. It's in the heart. You haven't acted upon it. So if you steal something from someone, that is not a disease of the heart. It's not a Madhmumah of the heart, because there's already action. But what causes you to steal? So we're addressing the cause, the root cause. The reason why you steal something from someone is because you have got maybe jealousy or greed, or why are you rude? Maybe you have arrogance, maybe you have anger issues. So say that how we explain Madhmumah, it's that part, your feeling in the heart. Some feelings are good, some feelings are bad. And those feelings that are good, we call it Mahmudah. Feelings that are bad, they're called Madhmumah. So anything else you did with the children?
So when we were explaining good traits, we're explaining Mahmudah, like thinking of good things and feeling of good things for other people and wanting good for themselves and for other people. And then for the younger children, I helped them make it more practical. So we went through their, like the body parts, like with your hands. How do you do Mahmudah with your hands? So what is the thought? So the thought is you want to be good, you want to be helpful, you want to be kind. So that is what you're thinking about. But how do you do it? So what can you do with your hands? What are kind things to do with your hands? So I always talk about helping hands to the children. So how is your hands helping today? So what are kind things that you can do to help? So last week we talked about secret charity. Like how you do something without telling. You just, tidy up your room without being told, and, you just give water to the plants without being told, and those kind of things. So the children could give me some examples of those, and then some more practical examples. So like at home, what are the good traits that you can do with your hands? What are the good practices that you could do with your hands? So thinking of doing kind things, wanting to do kind things, and actually then doing it. So they could give me examples like, we talked about, things at home during dinner time, like setting the table, picking up the dishes, putting it in the sink, arranging shoes. So things that children up to about year 1, year 2 could be doing at home. And then we moved on to it's not only your hands, but what about your mouth? So, thinking about good things, feeling about good things, but what comes out then from your mouth? What are good things to say? So we talked about giving compliments to people. We talked about having good manners, like saying please and saying thank you, and those kind of good traits that comes. Because I said, once you think about doing good, that's Mahmudah, right? And then doing it, you're actually realizing what you're doing. And then I talked about eyes. So what are good things that you do with your eyes? What are good things you do with your ears? So like reading, practicing your Quran, listening to your parents, with doing good listening to your teachers and to your parents, and then what's Madhmumah? So then we did the flip side. What's opposite of that? So you're thinking of. So we talked about jealousy. We talked about sometimes doing things behind people's back. Like thinking that no one would see them. So we give very, I think, simpler examples for children. For example, like, your mom tells you not to eat lollies before dinner, but you went to your room and munch it anyway. So, is that Mahmudah, is that Madhmumah? So giving them those kind of examples. Taking a friend's cute pencil because you didn't have one.
Yep.
So what is that? So we were thinking, so it's like, what is the thought? And then what is the action? Yeah, because for children, it is actually quite difficult.
It's too abstract.
Too abstract for them to just think of these concepts without actually having a practical example that accompanies it. So that was how we ran through Mahmudah and Madhmumah. And then oftentimes we just keep bringing it back to the shiny heart and the black spots.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So did you talk about the story of Prophet Adam and Iblees? Did you get to?
No, we didn't get to that story because we really just wanted to ground down to that examples first.
Yeah.
And probably it's something next week. It's going to be continued.
That's how we explain it to the bigger kids. Yeah. The example of a Madhmumah this week is Kibr or arrogance. And we say that arrogance is, to illustrate what arrogance is, we gave the example of the first act of Kibr, the first act of arrogance in the history of the universe, which relates to our father Adam and Iblees. When after Allah created Adam, Allah said that we have created human in the finest state. So Allah then commanded the angels to bow down to Adam. All of the angels bowed down except Azazil. Azazil is the name of Iblees before he turned bad. And then we took a bit of a detour.
And Azazil is a jinn.
Yeah, right? We took a detour saying that Azazil, Iblees, is not an angel, because some of the bigger students, they may be a bit familiar with the Christian concept of the fallen angel. So we say that Azazil is not a fallen angel. He's not an angel. He's from the genie. But because he was the best of genies in terms of his worship and obedience towards Allah, he was invited to worship together with the angels. So when Allah commanded all in that gathering to bow down to Adam, Iblis refused to. So angels are creatures made out of light, and they have intellect, but they don't have nafs. They have aqal, they don't have nafs. So that means they only obey Allah all the time. They don't have free will. Human and genies, we're given intellect, we're given nafs, we're given free will. So Azazil, he had the choice whether to obey Allah or not to obey Allah, just like us. So Azazil chose to not obey Allah. And what was the reason? Allah asked him, why don't you bow down when I commanded you to? And he said that I'm better than him. You created him from clay, you created me from fire. So this is arrogance, that you're looking down on others. You think that you're great. Allah hates kibr, Allah hates arrogance, because essentially you're taking ownership of what belongs to Allah. Allah created Iblees from fire. Iblis didn't do anything about it. He did not have a choice. He doesn't have a share.
Whether he is created from what?
Yes. But yet he is using that to look down upon others. If anyone has the right, any being has the right to have kibr, it's only Allah, because He created Iblis. Yet He commanded Iblis to bow down. He refused to. So the Prophet said, kibr or arrogance has two components. The first one is you denying the truth, and the second one is you looking down upon others. So in Iblis context, Azazil context here, God commanded him to bow down, and he denied. He refused to bow down, to listen to the truth coming from Allah. And he looked down upon Adam. And because of that, he was expelled from Jannah. Now, another trait of arrogance is that when you have made a mistake, you refuse to admit your mistake and correct it. This is what Iblees did. When Iblees was expelled from Jannah, he blamed Allah. He said, فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي. He said, oh Allah, it's you that have caused me to go astray. Had you not created Adam, this would not have happened. If you didn't ask me to bow down, this wouldn't have happened. You are the root cause of this. So you see, Iblees did not want to admit he was at fault. He just blamed Allah.
Others,
Now, contrast that with our father Adam. Iblees tricked him into disobeying Allah. Allah told Adam and his wife, "Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah." You can remain in Jannah. You can stay in Jannah. You can eat anything you want except
for that tree.
For one tree. Don't come near this tree. Iblees tricked Adam alayhi salam. Adam was naive, didn't know who Iblees is. Went and ate from that tree. He was then expelled from Jannah as well. Adam could have blamed Iblees because he had all the reasons. It wasn't him. Iblees was the one who duped him. But Adam, being an example, a prophet, he actually took responsibility of his actions. He said, "Rabbana zalamna anfusana." Oh, our Master, we have wronged ourselves, and asked for forgiveness from Allah. He take ownership. So we then told our students that you have to, every time you make a mistake, and it's okay to make a mistake because that is part of being human. Human experience means we're going to make mistakes. But what is important is what do we do after that? So you have two options now. You have the path of Iblees, blame someone else, blame others, blame our parents, blame our siblings, blame our teachers, blame everyone else but ourselves. Or we take the path of our father, Prophet Adam, take responsibility of our actions and ask for forgiveness and rectify our actions. The choice is in our hands. Do we want to be Iblees, or do we want to take the prophetic path like Prophet Adam? We ended the class. It was really fun this week with role play.
Role play,
So we divided the students into groups, and they had scenarios where they have to learn about this concept of Kibr from the story of Adam and Iblees. One group was you accidentally broke your friend's pencil, but insist it was already broken when you borrowed it. You don't want to take responsibility of your actions, and then we flip it. Now the thing is, most of our students wanted to be in the Madhmumah camp. They wanted to blame others. But during the discussion after that, see, the path of Iblees is easier, but it doesn't get you to Jannah. It's easier to blame others. You think that it might be fun to blame others, you save yourself, but look at where it gets you at the end. Your heart will not be pure, there will be black spots in your heart. And even in this world, if you keep on doing that, you will lose friends. And then scenario B is you lost the game and you're blaming your teammates for the loss instead of acknowledging it was your mistakes. Scenario C is now with you and teacher. You got a lower score on a test and you're upset with the teacher and you think that you've been graded unfairly. Instead of going up to the teacher and ask how can I improve, you backbite and you say that the teacher is bad and so on and so forth. So the children had fun doing role playing. Maybe if you've got children from year 3 to year 6, you may want to ask them what was the role play about, what part did they play, and what was the lesson they learned from those role plays. So that was how we ended the classes. So it was quite fun.
I think it's sometimes good for the children to also be able to do things practically in class, and then it's easier for the teacher to sometimes guide. I think also coming up this term is actually our Quran and Muqaddam assessments. So we always encourage children to practice at home. But it is more so for in weeks 8 and 9. We are going to assess children individually to see which level they're in. Are some children ready to move on onto the next class and on so forth. So it's really quite good if you can encourage your children to continue practicing at home. And also try to make sure that they are around for weeks 8 and 9 for us to be able to do the assessments.
All right, I think that's all for this week. I think we have something coming up on the 11th of June. We have the Hajj talk at the cafe. Coffee and Conversations. So it'll be at the cafe at 1:30 p.m. You're welcome to come. We'll have a casual talk about Hajj if you need some guidance, especially if you're going to Hajj this year, about the fiqh and the dimensions of Hajj. And you can ask your questions, Q&A about Hajj and so on. I won't be able to answer specific questions about visa and travel arrangement, packages and so on. I'm not part of Nusuk, but I'm there to help if I could with regards to the fiqh and also maybe the reflections, what to do during the ibadah and so on. More on the ibadah guide rather than the itinerary and logistical. And then the following week we have Maulid in the park, but we'll announce in the
because especially in June, July, it's very weather dependent. So we probably would have to announce it just a week before, just in case it rains.
All right, I hope to see you all next week at the madrasa.
Inshallah.
Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.